team's this ready to step into a leadership role, even though he might not be in a leadership role on the floor?
I wouldn't say he's in a leadership role. Certainly you play a point guard position. You're asked to direct and run the offense. So I guess in that sense he's certainly asked to lead the offense. But we have several guys that are obviously a lot more experienced and are more in leadership positions. But David's a really good player. I've had a lot of freshmen throughout my career that have made impacts on teams, and hopefully as his injury becomes a really far thing in the past, he continues to progress and give our team more and more.
He gave himself a C- in that game. Have you been impressed with what he's seen out of himself?
Last game?
Yeah.
As I said in the press conference, I think David made some good plays and made some not so good plays, but that's to be expected a little bit. I want to be able to give him some freedom out there to make mistakes, to play through them. I think, long term, his potential is through the roof, and so as long as he's given great effort in practice, he's improving. Then I want to be able to figure out a way to get him on the floor at times.
Can we expect to see him out there tomorrow about the same amount of minutes as the other night?
I don't know. I mean, I think that David's earned the right to play, and if he plays well, and then he'll stay in like most guys.
So Fresh hasn't scored a ton lately, but he's a senior point guard or graduate transfer. Have you been happy with what he's brought to the table?
Yeah, I think that the one thing he provides is usually a calming influence. He's also a very good defender, a player that understands our system. On the defensive end, I think his adjustment to our program and our defensive principles has been as seamless as it gets. I do think he has to play a little better offensively, but I think he's more than capable of it. He's played in a lot of games throughout his career. Our team's counting on him to do that, and so that's what practice is for.
What have you seen on tape from Miami of Ohio, Chris?
I think they're a talented team. The kid Nike is being looked at by NBA teams because of his athleticism. He's a downhill driver that still has the ability to make three-point shots. His athleticism is extremely impressive. They've got some young guys that can shoot the ball. I think the kid Delonte Brown's their second leading scorer. He's sort of a live wire, a guy that can do a little bit inside, some damage on the outside. I think Bam Bowman, although undersized in terms of his height, is really crafty, uses his body well, can stretch the defense from the three-point line. So, I think Jack's doing a really good job. They lost a few in a row, but I think, again, they have some young players, and they're only going to get better and better. So they have our full attention tomorrow night.
Chris, Steven had a really good game the last time out. Is there something in his play that kind of tips you off to say, okay, he's engaged, he's ready to have a big night? Because at times he seems to be just hard to stop.
Yeah, I think Steve's aggressiveness on offense, when he's really posting hard and wanting the ball, and not just hanging out. I think really that's who we've seen Steve be all year, maybe outside of a few moments. And I think he's gotten a lot better defensively. He still has a little ways to go, but where he is right now versus a year ago, I think is markedly better. And so it's a lot easier to have him on the floor when he's effective at both ends of the floor. But I think Steve's played well for the most part on offense. At times, our team doesn't look for him enough, and it's chicken or the egg. Is he calling for it? Is he making himself available? Is he posting big? But he's doing that a heck of a lot harder and more often this year than he did a year ago.
You talked about having your full attention. Do you have to worry about a 10-day break, Christmas, the holidays, this time of year, keeping guys focused? I mean, I don't know if you'll give them time off, but do you have to worry about that at all going into a game like this?
We talked about it. I mean, you can only control so much. We're going to pour every bit of ourselves into the preparation for Miami of Ohio, and then when the game's over, we'll figure out we're going to reconvene. I'll give them a few days off, but we talked about finishing this part of the schedule, knowing that there's a little bit of a break before we play our next game. And I'd like to think that the maturity that I have in the locker room understands that, and we play well and play hard tomorrow.
The next to last non-conference game, obviously. Have you gotten what you wanted to get out of your non-conference schedule?
Well, it's not over. So I don't know what I want. I want to win every game. But I think that we got Malik and David healthy. I think we've got them really good minutes and, tried to fit them in and transition to the team as best we could. And, we still have a ways to go to develop our team and improve in areas. And I don't expect that improvement to really stop. And so we've got a long break where our guys aren't in classes. We've got to use that wisely to become better players and a better team.
I know you weren't happy the other night with some of the offensive rebounds that you gave up. Now that you've had a chance to watch the tape, is there anything you noticed as to why that was happening so much?
Our guards got to help. A lot of those rebounds were long, scrambled rebounds, not above the rim or around the basket, but out near the foul line. And a few of our guards were leaking out. And so we have to sustain blockouts. We have to have a five-man mentality of sealing the possession and not just counting on Steve or Jordan or Dwayne to finish it. And then I think there were times where we had two hands on it, they had two hands on it, and they came up with it. And that's something that we have to change.
You got two non-conference games to go. When you look back, is your team about where you thought it would be? Is there any areas you're better than you thought they'd be, or areas where you feel like you've got more growth than you worried?
I still think our freshmen have to improve. I want to be able to use those guys in stretches. Again, I think that's the knock on freshmen. They're not very consistent at times, and you're not really sure what you're going to get. But I think they're figuring it out. They don't have as much opportunity on the floor as our upperclassmen. It's really hard to forecast maybe a team that has 7 returning guys and then 6 or 7 new guys about where we would be. But I'm glad that we're what I believe is a really good defensive team. And at times when we play together on the offensive end, really difficult to contend with. So that's who we have to be moving forward.
Any other questions? Anyone? Look back here. Just a second.
Coach, you had some players with you at your Coach's Corner book opening yesterday. Do you learn anything about those guys when you see them out with people and kids and that kind of stuff?
Well, it's not anything that I didn't know prior to. The Coach's Corner. We got some great guys in our locker room. Very, very, well-raised young men. I mean, you see them in all different facets. I mean, I see them. 80% of my interaction with them is on the basketball court or in the office. I'm talking basketball, but there's so much more to each of those guys than just who they are as a basketball player. And when you get to have the opportunity to hang out with them and do a service project like we did the other day, it just reminds you of who they are as people. And those guys were awesome with the kids. They weren't just sort of checking the box. And, you could see how much impact they had on those 5th graders. And I'm sure our guys remember what it was like to be in 5th grade. I don't, but God darn, it's so long ago. But it's a lot closer for them. And I think they see a little bit of themselves in those kids. And I think that's why it was so enjoyable for those guys to do what they did the other day. I appreciate you asking that.
Chris, my last question. If you were calling plays for Scott Satterfield, how many times would you go deep?
A hell of a lot more than he does. That was always my answer in football. Just throw the bomb, but I got vetoed by Coach of the Year, so. No, it's, I don't know, that's how you play, man. Let's go deep. Let's go deep.